This is an 85mm f1.4 for less than $600 US, which kind of blew me away for its price. But then I was kind of expecting lower performances. In this video, I want to share with you my on-the-field experience with this lens, how it felt to shoot with it, how was the ergonomics, and how it compares kind of to my experience with other lenses that are twice or even 3 times more expensive. And last but not least, also when and why I love to shoot 85mm. So if you're ready, let's thank Viltrox for sponsoring this video, making this experience possible. With that being said, let's get started. With this experience, I got a few pretty cool portraits in the streets of New York City's really cool encounters, and it reminded me my love for 85mm, why I absolutely love that focal length. And now you may be thinking, well, Pierre, you just mentioned that Viltrox is a sponsor of that video. Yes, they are. But this is my experience with the lens, and this is the same thing I was telling a friend. I'm actually very grateful that they reached out because I probably wouldn't have tested the lens otherwise. And I want to share with you why 85mm, when I use it. It doesn't matter if you take this one and another one. I want you to really understand when and how I love to use 85mm. But first, let's talk quickly about the lens. So, ergonomics. So we have our aperture ring, click, click, right there. We have a little button right there that I always program to eye autofocus, which helps me really nail the focus in the eyes no matter where the person is in the frame. When I press this, it's gonna override whatever autofocus zones I'm set up for, and it's gonna go straight to the eye. I'm gonna have the full breakdown videos of all my camera settings on the channel, so make sure you subscribe to see it. And if you have tested Viltrox lenses, let me know in the comments what you think about them, because honestly, for the price, it's pretty incredible. We have a maximum aperture of f16, minimal of f1.4. That's basically it. You can turn off the click for the aperture for video mode, very helpful if you want to be discreet. One more thing to mention, this lens is weather sealed, so it gives me confidence to shoot in all conditions with it. So the body itself is magnesium alloy body. So it is not light, okay? We're talking 800 grams. It feels heavy in hand, but it's an 85mm f1.4. If you want something lighter, definitely go towards a 1.8 if you're looking for a prime lens like that. Honestly, look at that glass. It's big. We have 77mm filtering at the front. It's a beautiful piece of glass. It has 15 elements, a minimum focus distance of 79mm, which is actually lower than the Sony ones by 1 centimeter, granted, but still, it's a little lower. And the weight is about 800 grams, which makes it lighter than the GM1 from Sony and, well, a little heavier by 20% than the Sony GM2. But the price is a third of the GM2 and basically half the price or less than the GM1. So it's just something to keep in mind. Remember, the price difference between what you're gonna buy here and another lens may mean a really cool trip to a country you've never been to take photos and portraits you'll love. Now, experience on the field was interesting because I ended up having interactions with people that I didn't expect. Someone even asked me to take photos of them in front of a stand. I'm not sure why. It was surprising. The photos didn't turn out that great in my opinion. But then I interacted with someone who was really genuinely a nice person, and we got those cool portraits together. Throughout my usage, whether it was daytime or evening or nighttime, I really have had a good experience with the autofocus. Nothing has bothered me. Nothing felt like it was hunting, which kind of is impressive because I expected it to hunt a lot more. I did not test it in video because that's not what I do primarily with those lenses. But in photography, I didn't have any issues. Now, on the A1, if I'm shooting in burst mode, I won't get the 30 frames per second burst because this is a third-party lens. In my experience, I was capped at 11 frames per second, which is fine with the autofocus on and in tracking mode. I don't always need 11 frames per second, and especially I was shooting a lot on the A7C2, and the A7C2 is capped way before 30 frames per second and 15 frames per second. So it didn't really matter for that. Also, take a look at the sharpness in the corners. Here we're at f1.4.5, sorry, as you can see here. Really sharp. Nothing to say really about corner sharpness. It's pretty good. I'm pretty impressed. Then we have vignetting also to look at right here. Take a look, make an opinion for yourself. Do you see a lot of vignetting or just a tiny bit? I barely see any, just a tiny bit, maybe here and there. but it's actually pleasant. It's something I like, and if you don't like it, it's so easy to correct. Take a look. This was shot at f1.4, and this is the kind of bokeh you can expect with this lens. Now, are you part of the contentious team that shoots everything at f1.4? Comment B if you do for bokeh, and if you're not, comment A to be part of the team that shoots at wide-ranging apertures. So overall, good experience with it, but the big question is when and why to use an 85mm. For me, an 85mm comes in really handy when I don't want to carry a 70-200. No matter what kind of brand it is from, 70-200s take a lot of spaces in the bags. If you're doing street photography, everyday photography, and you're carrying those big lenses, it's a real downside. So I prefer to go towards that focal range of 85mm because it allows me to have a really nice bokeh, especially at f1.8, in this case at f1.4, even better. As you can see on those photos, the bokeh is really creamy, and it helps you on an 85mm to really separate your subject from the background. So it's really great for portraits, places where you actually don't want the environment to really impact your portraits. You can get rid of it. I also love to use it for detail shots and for shooting through objects. Why? Because when you have a little bit of compression, when you have a tighter frame, it's actually much easier than, for example, if you're shooting at 14mm, where you have so much in your frame, it's hard to use framing as easily. So if I'm shooting at 85mm, I can shoot through objects very easily and really make something pop out. In terms of storytelling, for me, the 85mm is almost that lens that you're gonna grab to get the detail shots that will make your story complete, and also the ones that make it feel like you're looking from outside a little bit. And you still get a good amount of compression without having to go to 200mm and carrying those lenses. So you can do 85mm, crop in a little bit if needed, and get that nice compression. Or take photos from the other side of the street if you see cool action happening on the other crosswalk or on the other sidewalk, people at a cafe, whatever you can tell or feel. Really, to me, this is a lens that will allow to do that. When it comes to street photography, 85mm is slightly discreet. People are not sure if you're shooting wide or tight, so you can get away with shooting from one corner of the street to the other, or getting close but not too close in people's faces. So if you're a little shy when it comes to street photography and portraits, it's actually a focal range I really recommend. Now, if you're doing street portraits and you're interacting with people, just because you're a little further doesn't mean you don't need to talk to your subject and interact with them in order to get a good shot. Remember, move them around, try to get the best frame possible, and all that comes through your soft skill as a person and not so much through the gear. Now, if you're curious about all the camera settings I've used when I was taking those photos, you can grab my free photography cheat sheet with my everyday and street photography settings that I use and some tips. The link is in the description. But I gotta tell you, this lens has been a pleasant surprise, whether it was a 35-1.2 that I tested also or that 85. I'm genuinely interested to see how it performs over time. Now, if you have any feedback on your experience with Viltrox lenses, please share them in the description. And I think there's a little link with 5% discount if you want on that lens, if you're interested in ordering it. Now, remember, get out there, go shoot, try something different, try something new. But if you need to get a little deeper in camera settings, watch this video or watch this one if you want to see my full on the field experience in New York City with that lens. I'm sending you much love. Bye.